Hey up guys! So continuing the award season coverage, today on the channel I'm going to be predicting the BAFTAs. The BAFTAs are taking place on Sunday, February 19th, and if you want to see my reactions to the winners or shock results, be sure to follow me on social media. All the links for those platforms are in the video description down below. Occasionally you do get a juicy one, like when Will Smith won Best Actor at the BAFTAs last year.
Will Smith, BAFTA winner! What? Oh my god!
Before we jump into all the predictions, there is one thing to discuss, which is going to make the race a lot more interesting, and that's the fact that the BAFTAs are actually taking place before the SAG Awards this year. Normally it's the other way around. We get the SAGs first, then BAFTA right before the Oscars, and there you have it. The last few years, the BAFTAs have been instrumental in predicting the Oscars. A lot of the time, the BAFTAs do align with the Oscars, particularly in the acting categories. But with the BAFTAs occurring a little earlier than usual in the award season schedule this year, how are the BAFTA winners gonna influence or affect the SAG winners or even the Oscars this year? SAG voting doesn't actually close until February 24th, so the results of the BAFTAs may cause the Screen Actors Guild to either follow suit of the BAFTAs, or perhaps they'll champion someone different from the BAFTAs. Will the BAFTAs and the Oscars still end up mostly matching this year, even though the SAGs are occurring after the BAFTAs? So yeah, because the running order of all these award season precursors is a little out of sync this year, it's gonna make for a more interesting Oscars because it's gonna be less easy to predict this year. Which I'm actually for. It actually makes for a way more fun Oscars night when you're not actually sure who's gonna win a lot of categories. There's gonna be more categories this year than usual, which are harder to call than previous years. Anyway, I've said my piece, now let's dive into the predictions and let's start off with Best Film. In this category, we've got All Quiet on the Western Front, The Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Tar. I still think it's gonna come down to either The Banshees of Inisherin or Everything Everywhere All at Once. I know All Quiet on the Western Front got 14 BAFTA nominations, however, both Banshees and Everything Everywhere got 10 nominations apiece, and I just can't see BAFTA going with a remake for top prize, especially when we've got more interesting and original films in the mix. As much as I personally want to see it go to Everything Everywhere All at Once, I'm at the moment leaning towards Banshees. BAFTA have given this prize to a Martin McDonagh film before with 3 Billboards. They do like his films, and if anything, Banshees is a more beloved film than 3 Billboards was. 3 Billboards had a bit of controversy surrounding it at the time. However, if Everything Everywhere managed to win Best Film at BAFTAs, I would feel more confident about it winning Best Picture at the Oscars as well. And if Everything Everywhere doesn't win Best Film at BAFTA, I'm still not ruling it out of it being able to win Best Picture at the Oscars. Like, it would feel more assured if it did win at BAFTA, but I can't rule it out, and we need to see if Everything Everywhere wins either the SAG Ensemble or the Producers Guild Award. Best Film at BAFTA isn't decided on a preferential ballot like the Oscars, it's just a popular vote, whereas Producers Guild Award does use a preferential ballot and it has a similar amount of voting members in its body. I'm going to be really looking at the Producers Guild Award winner to make my prediction for Best Picture at the Oscars. In the 33 years that we've had the Producers Guild Awards, the top prize at PGA and Best Picture at the Oscars has matched 22 out of 33 times. So 2/3 of the time it matches. If Banshees does win Best Film at BAFTA, SAG Ensemble, and PGA, then it would be foolish to not predict it for Best Picture at the Oscars. Also, this is me just generalizing, but comparatively between Banshees and Everything Everywhere All at Once, Banshees feels more in line with BAFTA's taste. Like, it's got darker sensibilities than Everything Everywhere, it's got dark humor, it's intelligently written, but it's also accessible to the masses. And it's also stacked with local talent, Brendan Gleeson, Colin Farrell, Barry Keoghan, Kerry Condon. But I would love to see Everything Everywhere win because it really would buck the trend. I would love to see a genre mashup of like sci-fi, fantasy, comedy, action film like Everything Everywhere win at the BAFTAs. It's just, Banshees feels like a more traditional, more safer pick. And as much as I love Banshees, Banshees doesn't excite me in the same way that Everything Everywhere does. It just has so much more to say as a film. Both films kind of share a similar theme of like the ennui of middle age and hopes and disappointments, but Everything Everywhere has so many more levels than Banshees. It's about nihilism and love and empathy and generational trauma and the generational gap and acceptance. There's so much going on in Everything Everywhere All at Once, and there's just so many ways to read it and interpret it. So yeah, I would much rather see Everything Everywhere win. And if it does win, I'm gonna be so flippin' happy. Is there an argument to be made for Tar or Elvis? Elvis did get more nominations than Tar. It got 9 over its 5, but Elvis just doesn't seem like a sophisticated enough pick for BAFTA. Whereas Tar is certainly a sophisticated pick, but might be a little too sophisticated. It's one of those films that does leave some people a little bit cold. Is it too artistic? Having said that, the BAFTA have shown a preference towards more artistic films of late, with Power of the Dog, Nomadland, and even Roma winning Best Film. Tar definitely feels more in line with those films than Banshees or Everything Everywhere do. And it did just win Best Film at the London Critics Group, but that's critics, not BAFTA industry. But in the last 10 years, the London Film Critics Group has matched with BAFTA Best Film 7 out of 10 times. As for the other precursors, the Golden Globes gave Best Drama to The Fabelmans, and Banshees took home comedy/musical, but at the Critics' Choice Awards, it was Everything Everywhere that took home the top prize. So yeah, it's hard for me to guess if the BAFTA's taste is gonna align more with the Golden Globes comedy musical winner or the Critics' Choice winner. But there's one more thing we have to take into consideration, which is, will BAFTA split the winner of Best British Film and Best Film? Because Banshees is nominated in both, and if they want to be like, diplomatic, they could give Banshees Best British Film and give Everything Everywhere the top prize, or if they want, they can just go all in on Banshees and Banshees wins both. But what's really holding me back from me predicting Everything Everywhere All at Once to win is that it is kind of a bonkers genre mashup, and there's nothing like it that's won Best Film before. I want to be brave and say, oh, they're gonna honor a sci-fi, fantasy, comedic, kung fu, existential family crisis drama, but like Everything Everywhere. Because yeah, it's such a bold and interesting genre mashup, and so different, and it completely stuck the landing. But yeah, it would buck the tradition, whereas Banshees is a nice, well, albeit safe, it has a lot to say, but it's a safe kind of dramedy. Like it's a well-acted, well-written, just a good film in general. But it's just not as original or as out there as Everything Everywhere. So yeah, I'm going with Banshees just because out of tradition and habit. But I'm praying that it actually does go to Everything Everywhere All at Once. What about you guys? What are you predicting for Best Film at the BAFTAs? Let me know in the comment section down below. Okay, so next up we have Best Director, and first thing I want to say is that I am just so happy that Park Chan-wook has a Best Director nomination for Decision to Leave. Like, if I had it my way, he is who I would pick to win all the directing awards this award season. Sadly, it's just not happened, but I'm glad he got the BAFTA nomination. And yeah, as much as I want to see him win the BAFTA, it's just very unlikely to happen. With BAFTA, the Best Director winner usually does align with the Oscars, and because Park Chan-wook is not nominated at the Oscars, I can't predict him to win here. Although I would love to see it happen. In the last 10 years, BAFTA have gone with the Best Director and Best Picture combo 7 out of 10 times. Interesting thing to point out though, back in 2018, when Guillermo del Toro won Best Director for The Shape of Water, Best Film actually went to Martin McDonagh's 3 Billboards. Could the same thing happen again this year, with Banshees winning Best Film, but BAFTA decides to acknowledge the ingenuity and creativity of the Daniels direction in Everything Everywhere? Directing-wise, Everything Everywhere is far more ambitious than Banshees. And I'd also argue that the direction in The Shape of Water was a little bit more ambitious than 3 Billboards. So I must admit, I'm tempted to go Daniels here. Martin McDonagh has certainly paid his dues. It feels like it should be his time. He's kind of overdue for recognition. He also has the home turf advantage with the BAFTAs, and people really love Banshees as well. But something in my bones just tells me that it's gonna go to the Daniels. This really is a no guts, no glory prediction because it does feel like it should go to Martin McDonagh, but directing wise, I just found Everything Everywhere so much more striking. The direction really leaps off the screen in Everything Everywhere, whereas in Banshees, it's more of a dialogue-driven movie. It's the writing that you remember for Banshees. Sorry. So I'm thinking what they might do is split the difference and compensate by giving Martin McDonagh the Best Original Screenplay BAFTA and give Daniels the BAFTA for directing. So yeah, I'm going for it. I'm gonna say the Daniels wins Best Director at BAFTA. And if the Daniels do win Best Director at BAFTA, it'll be the first time since 2008 that a directing pairing has won direction. The last time it happened was the Coen brothers for No Country for Old Men. And it'll also make them only the second ever directing duo combo to ever win Best Directing at the BAFTAs ever. Best Actor. This is a tough one to call, even tougher than last year. Because the last 10 years at BAFTA, the Best Actor winner has gone on to win the Oscar 9 out of 10 times. So you can bet your sweet cheeks, whoever wins Best Actor, I'm gonna be predicting them to win the Oscar. You have to go as far back as 2014 when Chiwetel Ejiofor won the BAFTA for 12 Years a Slave and Matthew McConaughey won the Oscar, even though he wasn't even nominated at BAFTA, to see the last instance where they didn't match at BAFTA and Oscars. And again, what makes this category especially difficult to predict this year is that we don't know who the Best Actor winner at the SAG Awards is yet. In the past decade, the SAG Award has been very useful to help gauge who might have the momentum in this category going into the BAFTAs. But as of right now, it's a very level playing field between Austin Butler, Colin Farrell, and Brendan Fraser. Last year, I was predicting Benedict Cumberbatch to triumph at the BAFTAs over Will Smith because Benedict Cumberbatch's performance was in the most nominated film at the BAFTAs, The Power of the Dog, and also Benedict Cumberbatch had the home field advantage being British and all, and I thought that those external factors would be enough to give Benedict Cumberbatch a surprise win at BAFTAs, but nope, I was wrong. It did go to Will Smith, and in retrospect, Will Smith should have been the prediction that I went with because he was like sweeping all the precursors, the Golden Globe, the Critics' Choice. So it made sense to go Will Smith, but I just had a feeling they'd lean more towards the homegrown talents of Benedict Cumberbatch in the critically regarded, most heavily nominated film of the year, The Power of the Dog. So yeah, that's an instance where I allowed external factors to really influence my prediction. And while there is a sort of similar situation which parallels last year's Best Actor race, which I'll get to in a second, it is a different race this year because we don't have the SAG winner to go off of. The only things that we can gauge off of are the fact that Austin Butler and Colin Farrell won the Golden Globes, and then Brendan Fraser won the Critics' Choice. So like I said, it's pretty level. Brendan Fraser has the most recent big precursor win, which was the Critics' Choice Award, which implies he could have the momentum, and I think his emotional speech is definitely helping him to like connect with voters. But I'd feel far more comfortable predicting Brendan Fraser to win at the BAFTAs if he had won the SAG Award already, but we don't know who's won SAG yet. Like I said, there's a similar situation occurring here in this category, which kind of parallels the Best Actor BAFTA race last year with Benedict Cumberbatch and Will Smith. This year, we've got Colin Farrell giving a beautiful performance, which is a nice blend of comedy and drama, which is more subdued and more restrained, just a lot more subtle, in a critically regarded and beloved film, The Banshees of Inisherin, which got a lot of BAFTA nominations. It's one of the most nominated, it got 10, going up against a transformative career comeback performance of a leading man from the 90s who kind of fizzled from the limelight and came back with a very emotional performance that gets audiences crying. However, Brendan Fraser's performance in The Whale, even though the performance is celebrated, the movie itself isn't as critically regarded as Banshees is, and it only got 4 nominations at BAFTA, which is still a modest turnout, I would say. So yeah, in this scenario, Colin Farrell is Benedict Cumberbatch and Brendan Fraser is Will Smith. So logic would dictate that history would probably repeat itself. So if Smith can win at BAFTA, then Fraser can win at BAFTA. But remember, it's not as easy for Fraser as it would be for Smith because Smith had all the previous precursor nominations, Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, and SAG going into BAFTA. Fraser currently only has Critics' Choice. BAFTA are actually in a position now to choose which Best Actor performance they want to give the momentum to going into the SAGs and the Oscars. If they do give it to Austin Butler, it would kind of be a shock, and it would definitely make me change my opinion on Austin Butler going all the way and winning the Oscar, because that would definitely, light the path for him to win the Oscar. But I'm still thinking it's going to be either Brendan Fraser or Colin Farrell, and I really am torn. In my own head, BAFTA winner Colin Farrell sounds more correct than BAFTA winner Brendan Fraser. I don't know why. He's absolutely deserving to be a BAFTA winner, Brendan Fraser. But yeah, I guess I said the same thing about Will Smith last year. Benedict Cumberbatch BAFTA winner just seems to make more sense to me. But as much as I think it can go to Colin Farrell, I'm gonna go with Brendan Fraser. And I guess the reason I'm leaning more towards Brendan Fraser is because with Best Actor at BAFTA, apart from the exception of maybe Casey Affleck in Manchester by the Sea, they do tend to gravitate more towards the bigger, more transformative performances from leading men. Like, look at Joaquin Phoenix, Gary Oldman, Eddie Redmayne, Rami Malek, even Will Smith last year as well. It's kind of difficult for me to think of a Best Actor or Best Supporting Actor BAFTA winning performance that compares to Colin Farrell's. The closest thing I can think of is actually Olivia Colman, who won Best Actress at BAFTA for The Favourite. That's another instance of like comedy and drama being married together beautifully in a performance. So it's not impossible that Colin Farrell could win. History just suggests that they tend to gravitate more towards, transformative, larger than life, or, very emotionally stirring performances like Brendan Fraser's in The Whale. So yeah, that's my reasoning as to why I think Brendan Fraser will triumph at the BAFTAs. If Colin Farrell did win at BAFTA, then he would kind of open the door for more performances like his to win in the future. I'm also approaching my prediction for this category with the mindset of who do I think is gonna win Best Actor at the Oscars, because it does tend to overlap at BAFTAs. And with Brendan Fraser, even though not everybody loves The Whale, everybody seems to agree that, it's one of the best performances of the year. It's a real comeback performance for him. And yeah, I think people just really like Brendan Fraser, and it feels like it's his moment. It's one of the most discussed performances of the year, and it feels like it should be his time. So yeah, I'm going with Brendan Fraser for Best Actor. I really want him to win it, but I don't feel 100% confident that he's got it in the bag. Best Actress. I'm feeling pretty confident on this one. I'm going with Cate Blanchett for Tar. I would love to see Michelle Yeoh pull off a surprise win here, but I don't think it's going to happen at BAFTA. I think she's more likely to surprise at the SAGs than she is BAFTA. But there is a chance she could still surprise at BAFTA. It kind of feels like Cate Blanchett is actively encouraging people not to give her the awards. Like, she wants other women to be celebrated, which just makes me love Cate Blanchett even more because it's so bloody selfless. But yeah, I still think BAFTA will lean more towards Tar because they clearly do love Tar. They gave it 5 nominations, and I think they are going to want to honor it somewhere. And Best Actress makes the most sense, and it's such a thundering, intimidating performance from Cate Blanchett. It's one of her best, and yeah, I can just see BAFTA championing her. So yeah, Best Actress seems like Cate Blanchett, but would love to see Michelle Yeoh, but I'm still going with Cate. Actor in a supporting role. This feels like this is Ke Huy Quan's last obstacle for the Oscar. He has been collecting them trophies this season, but if he's bound to miss anywhere, it's probably BAFTA, but I have a feeling he's still going to prevail here. I know some people are predicting one of the Banshees boys to surprise here, maybe Barry Keoghan or Brendan Gleeson, but I've just got this feeling that there's not going to be enough consensus around which one of them to give their vote to. Like, some people probably go Brendan Gleeson, some people will probably go Barry Keoghan. There's just not going to be enough votes to, get either one of them the win. Whereas Ke Huy Quan just makes a lot of sense. He is the only supporting male performance in his movie, so he's not competing against anybody else, and he is the emotional center of Everything Everywhere All at Once, and people just really love Ke Huy Quan this award season. They love seeing how happy and emotional and how grateful he is for this career resurgence, and people are loving his speeches, and I think that's going to carry through into BAFTAs, and I cannot wait to live in a world where I can say BAFTA winner Ke Huy Quan, okay? It's awesome. So yeah, I'm sticking with Ke Huy Quan. Actress in a supporting role. This is also a tough one. I think it's going to come down to either Angela Bassett or Kerry Condon. I understand the reason to predict Angela Bassett. She does have the momentum right now with the wins at the Golden Globes and the Critics' Choice Awards, and it really does seem like the industry has selected her as the champion for Best Actress this year. I get all of that, but I just can't help shake the feeling that Kerry Condon is gonna surprise here and win. The Best Supporting Actress race has been one of the weirdest and interesting races of the whole award season, because everyone seemed to have a different opinion on who was going to get in. Some people were thinking a lot of people from the Women Talking cast were going to get in. Some were saying Everything Everywhere All at Once, but I didn't feel confident predicting them until just a few weeks ago, and now they both got the Oscar nomination. And then, yeah, some people were like saying She Said, the ladies from She Said, or Dolly DeLeon from Triangle of Sadness. But The one name that has just been consistent throughout Best Supporting Actress the whole season has been Kerry Condon ever since The Banshees premiered at Venice, okay? Everyone has collectively agreed that she's going to be in the race, and she's the only one who really has shown up in every Best Supporting Actresses category, regardless of critics groups or, big precursor ceremonies. So yeah, Kerry Condon has been the most consistent over this award season. And while it is so nice to see Angela Bassett get some recognition for such a long and respected career, this could be the moment where Kerry Condon comes out of the woodwork and starts winning. Kinda like Ya Jun-yoon for Minari. Back in August, I was predicting that Kerry Condon would be our eventual winner for Best Supporting Actress at the Oscars. If that's gonna happen, she needs to collect a win somewhere, and the BAFTAs makes the most sense as to where she can win. It's a home turf. The Banshees has 10 nominations. Angela Bassett is the sole nomination for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. And they're definitely going to want to honor the Banshees where they can, and Kerry Condon or Colin Farrell makes the most sense for an acting win. Watch Barry Keoghan go and win Best Supporting Actor now. But Kerry Condon delivers a performance which is both very funny and also very sad in places, and she's feckin' marvelous in it. So either the BAFTAs are gonna jump on board the Angela Bassett Express and give her the win, or Kerry Condon is gonna surprise. And like I said, I just feel something in my bones with Kerry Condon, so I'm gonna predict her to win at the BAFTAs. Best Original Screenplay. I'm going with the Banshees just because of the argument I made before about them splitting Best Director and Best Original Screenplay for Everything Everywhere and Banshees. Yeah, I think Martin McDonagh's going to win the screenplay. They've given him this award twice before for 3 Billboards and In Bruges. They love his writing. So yeah, makes more sense that the Banshees wins here. Best Adapted Screenplay. This is a weird one because we don't have Women Talking nominated in this category, and I thought that was the screenplay that was going to sweep this award season, but Women Talking was completely shut out of the BAFTAs. Honestly, I can make an argument for any of the 5 in this category. All Quiet on the Western Front because it has the most nominations, The Quiet Girl because it's an Irish film, The Whale because of how discussed the film has been this award season, She Said because it's a hot topic, important issue type film, and Living because it's a proper British film. It's strange that there's very little overlap in this category at both BAFTA and Oscars this year. The only 2 that made it into both were All Quiet on the Western Front and Living. We could see a surprise here, because honestly, it doesn't feel like whatever wins here is going to affect the outcome at the Oscars. Is anyone really screaming about the screenplay of All Quiet on the Western Front? Yes, I know it's based off of a beloved piece of literature, but the film itself, are people talking about, the dialogue and, the actual screenplay of it? It's not really. They're more impressed by the technical aspects of All Quiet on the Western Front. So I don't feel confident on predicting it to win the screenplay. While The Whale has been discussed a lot, the screenplay does tend to divide people. It does feel a bit polarized in that one, so I think it's too controversial to give The Whale screenplay at BAFTA. This might seem a bit weird, but I'm actually gonna go with Living because it's a very British type of film, and also it's nicely written as well. And Kazuo Ishiguro does have the Oscar nomination as well, and he has been making the rounds this award season, charming a lot of people. And so yeah, I think they're gonna give it to the Nobel Prize winner. Best Animated Feature, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. As much as I would love to see Marcel the Shell with Shoes On surprise here, you just can't beat Guillermo del Toro, he's so beloved. Best Documentary Feature, All the Beauty and the Bloodshed. Best Film, not in the English language. While I know it seems like the logical pick to go with All Quiet on the Western Front because of the 14 nominations, I am having a little bit of doubt in this category, strangely, just because of how topsy-turvy it has been this award season. The Golden Globe went to Argentina in 1985, and the Critics' Choice went with RRR. But also, both Park Chan-wook and Edward Berger are nominated for Best Director at BAFTA as well, which is kind of throwing me into a little bit of a tailspin, but given the sheer volume of nominations for All Quiet on the Western Front, yeah, I'm gonna go with All Quiet on the Western Front to win this. Having said that, my personal preference would be to see Decision to Leave win here. Best Casting. Now this is still a relatively new category at BAFTA, and you look at the past winners of this, and it's very hard to see a commonality or a through line between all the winners, because we had Joker win this, then Rocks, and then who won it last year? Oh yeah, West Side Story. So it's kind of hard to find a common theme in those 3 movies. I'm not 100% sure where to go with this. I would love to see Aftersun win this, but that's more of a 2-person performance piece movie. Whereas something like Everything Everywhere All at Once is really an ensemble film. It is supremely well cast, and they've got 3 individual acting noms at BAFTA as well. But part of me also thinks, well, Everything Everywhere is gonna get some love regardless at BAFTA. What if they're diplomatic and give it to a different ensemble film like Triangle of Sadness? I actually would rather see Triangle of Sadness win it because it's definitely getting some love with BAFTAs and Oscars in terms of nominations, but I want to see it win somewhere. And I actually think the ensemble of players in Triangle of Sadness is fantastic. You know, between Charlie Dean, Harris Dickinson, Dolly DeLeon, Woody Harrelson, Zlatko Burek. It's got a really rich roster of performances in it. So yeah, I would like to see Triangle of Sadness win this, but I'm leaning more towards Everything Everywhere because it's just more of the movie of the moment, and it's got, you know, such a strong cast. So yeah, I'm leaning towards Everything Everywhere, but would kind of like to see Triangle surprise here. Definitely not going with Elvis because of that Tom Hanks performance. Yeah, if Elvis does win, it's gonna age like milk. Cinematography, the most chaotic category of 2023. This category is often a very reliable predictor for who's gonna win Best Cinematography at the Oscars, but a lot of us pundits were kind of anticipating Top Gun Maverick to go on and win Best Cinematography at the Oscars, but it got snubbed there. So now, will the BAFTAs still champion Top Gun Maverick, even though it's not going to go on to win the cinematography Oscar? They have a chance to, like, change the narrative a little bit, maybe start championing someone else for a win. And I could see them rallying behind something like James Friend for his cinematography in All Quiet on the Western Front. It's very cold and crisp, but yeah, All Quiet on the Western Front is just, it's a gorgeously shot film, gorgeously lit. I could see them going for All Quiet, but I would also just love them to do something unexpected and surprising, like give the Batman the win for Best Cinematography. But would they give Greg Fraser back-to-back wins for cinematography? He won last year for Dune. Would they do it again for the Batman? It would be so interesting if they did. It would be a win that would just age really well. You know, people would look back and go, oh, the BAFTAs gave the Batman Best Cinematography because they didn't feel obligated to give it to Top Gun Maverick and continue its winning streak through awards season. Yeah, the Batman really is one of the most beautiful looking films of the year, and it would be so cool to see it win it. But again, I just don't think the Batman has the same sort of support and love that Dune did. So I'm not seeing Greg Fraser winning back-to-back. I think it's probably more likely to go to All Quiet on the Western Front. But the question is, do they like it more than Top Gun Maverick? It's hard to say. Either James Friend comes out of the woodwork and wins here and has a chance to go on to win the Oscar, or they give Claudia Miranda the win for Top Gun Maverick in recompense for the Oscar snub. It really is a tough one. I'm gonna go with Top Gun Maverick. Costume design. This one was actually tougher than I thought it was going to be. Jenny Beavan won last year for Cruella, a film where, you know, fashion was at the forefront of the story, and she's been nominated again this year for Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris, which is sort of a similar type movie where the fashion is really part of the story. Plus, Jenny Beavan is English and very much beloved by BAFTA. She has won this award 4 previous times. But I'm actually leaning more towards Catherine Martin for Elvis. And the reason for that is because I think they're going to want to honor Elvis somewhere. They did give it 9 nominations, and I feel like costume design is probably the best place to give it something. Plus, BAFTA do like Catherine Martin. She's won before for Strictly Ballroom and for Great Gatsby. Interestingly though, in 2002, Jenny Beavan actually beat Catherine Martin's costumes for Moulin Rouge with her film Gosford Park. Could the same thing happen again this year? It very well could, but I'm gonna go with Catherine Martin for Elvis. Also, my personal pick for this category would be Mary Zophras for Babylon, but I'm not expecting it to happen. Best editing. When it comes to this category, the BAFTAs really love films that have to do with, you know, planes, trains, automobiles, like anything with cars they love. So Mad Max Fury Road, Baby Driver, Ford v Ferrari, Dunkirk also won this, you know, planes and stuff, but also just last year, No Time to Die won here over Dune, which was a film, you know, packed with like car chases and stuff. So yeah, editing, they tend to gravitate more towards things that have vehicles in them. I'd personally love to see Paul Rogers win this for Everything Everywhere All at Once. The reason Everything Everywhere All at Once works as well as it does is because of Paul Rogers' editing, keeping it all together and feeling cohesive. But Top Gun Maverick has planes and feels more aligned with BAFTA's taste with editing, so I'm going with Top Gun Maverick. Makeup and hair is another one which is surprisingly more difficult than I thought it would be to predict this year. The BAFTAs do like honoring like prosthetic type makeup. We've seen a lot of that recently with the eyes of Tammy Faye, Bombshell, Darkest Hour. But it's hard to say because so many of the candidates nominated for makeup and hair this year involve a lot of prosthetics. You've got the Batman, you've got Elvis, you've got the Whale. In the Batman, Colin Farrell was pretty much unrecognizable as the Penguin. In Elvis, you've got obviously Tom Hanks in a lot of makeup, and even Austin Butler towards the end of the movie has some prosthetics on. And then with the Whale, obviously it's the big transformative role of the year with Brendan Fraser wearing the 3D printed fat suit. And while it is totally convincing makeup, would it be seen as controversial to give it to a film about an overweight protagonist, especially now that we're having more conversations about overweight actors portraying those roles? Oh, it's hard to say because both Elvis and The Whale are, Best Actor nominated performance movies, and both use prosthetics and both have people in sort of fat suits. So the logical argument would be to give it to the Batman, because of the transformation of Colin Farrell into the Penguin. But it's not a Best Picture nominee, it's not got a Best Actor nominated performance, even though Colin Farrell is nominated for Best Actor in a different film. But yeah, would they give it to a comic book movie? I don't know, I feel like the genre bias would be at play here. The thing I can't ignore is that usually there is a correlation between hair and makeup winning and an actor's performance, which means I am leaning more towards either The Whale or Elvis. Because I'm more inclined to think that Fraser has a better chance of winning Best Actor, I'm kind of leaning more towards The Whale, but at the same time, this could actually be where BAFTA gives Elvis its win, like I was saying. Maybe they don't give Catherine Martin the costumes, but they give it hair and makeup instead. I'm gonna go with The Whale, but honestly, it would not surprise me if Elvis did win here. Best score, Justin Hurwitz for Babylon. He got the Golden Globe. I mean, Critics' Choice did go to Hilda Guanajuatia for Tar, but that's not gonna happen again here, so yeah. Justin Hurwitz for Babylon. Production design. Not as confident on this one. I'm torn between Babylon and All Quiet on the Western Front. The reason for that is because BAFTA did go with 1917 a few years back, and that was very similar to All Quiet on the Western Front with The Trenches. However, Babylon feels more like a classic type of production design winner. I'm gonna go with Babylon. Best sound. I'm torn again between Top Gun Maverick and All Quiet on the Western Front. BAFTA have shown a fondness for the sound of war movies like Dunkirk and 1917 both won this. Another thing you have to take into consideration is that usually at the Oscars, best sound and best editing are often paired together. But this isn't the Oscars, this is the BAFTAs, and they do tend to split them a little bit more here. I mean, just last year, No Time to Die won editing. I feel like it should go to Top Gun Maverick, but in sound at the BAFTAs, they do tend to go for war movies more than vehicular movies. So I'm gonna go with All Quiet on the Western Front. Visual effects, Avatar: The Way of Water, let's move on. Outstanding British film, I'm gonna go with The Banshees of Inisherin, even though my personal preference would be Aftersun. The reason I'm going for Banshees is that the BAFTAs do typically give this to a film which is also nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars, and Banshees is up for Best Picture, Aftersun is not. In recent years, they've given it to Belfast, Promising Young Woman, 1917, Brooklyn, Three Billboards, The Theory of Everything, Gravity. Outstanding debut by a British writer, director, or producer. This is where Aftersun finally gets its acknowledgement. Charlotte Wells is gonna win this, I highly believe it. Out of all the nominees here, it feels like Aftersun has made the most noise and the most impact culturally, even though it is a small, independent Scottish film. It really does have a passionate fan base, and they're going to want to honor Aftersun somewhere, so it makes sense to give it to Charlotte Wells because it is her baby. Best British Animated Short, I've gone with The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse because it's nominated at the Oscars. Best British Short Film, I've gone with An Irish Goodbye. And for the EE Rising Star Award, I've gone with Darryl McCormick, simply because he is the only one of the 5 nominees who is also nominated for a competitive BAFTA award. He's up for Best Actor for Good Luck to You, Leah Grande. So there you have it, guys. Those are my predictions for the 2023 BAFTA Awards. Do let me know in the comment section below what you think of my predictions, and let me know some of your hot takes for who's gonna win the BAFTAs in the comment section down below. If you've enjoyed the video, help me out by hitting that little thumbs up button. Remember to follow me on social media if you like, for my reactions. And if you want more movie, TV, and Oscars related content, don't forget to click subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, guys. For more things related to movies, TV, the Oscars, and popcorn culture, I'm Luke Kearfield, and I'll see you next time.